Oh, Jesus. We used to have a stool up here for short people. Me and Shelley. Now, a lot of y'all know who Shelley is. And we always had a stool to stand on because, we could get way up here where we could see what's going on and look at everybody. So, um, Jeremy asked me to speak when we were at the Waco conference. And, in AA and Alanon, you're always supposed to say yes when you ask a question to do your service work. So I said, okay, but I'll probably cry, but that's okay. So, I've thought about this for 2 weeks and I thought, shit, leave it alone, leave it alone, quit worrying about it. I thought, okay, I'm going to sit down and write me some notes. I thought, no, I'm not going to use any notes because, God's going to give me what I need to say. So, um, I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about my background. Um, I was born several years ago, just a few years ago. And my parents had 5 kids. We had three boys, 2 girls, and I was the baby. So when you have a baby girl, you don't say nothing to her. You don't tell her nothing because she's the baby. We had lots of secrets in our family. And my oldest brother passed away in 1995. Uh, the second oldest brother passed away in 1996 from alcohol. And, we talked, James and I tried to talk to my parents about it, that they were alcoholics. He took a big book to my parents. And, oh, no, no, he didn't die. They didn't die alcoholic. They had cancer. You know, the oldest one could do no wrong. He died at 50. I would like to be 50 again. um, and then the other brother died at 51 or 2 from the same thing. So we have a lot of alcohol in our family. All my uncles drank, all the aunts drank. Um, my dad's brothers and sisters drank, and they partied all the time. And so um, I married an alcoholic. Now I was 19 years old. I'm gonna tell you something. Don't shelter your kids. Don't protect them. Don't keep them in the house all the time, because that's what mine did. I think they did it because I think my oldest sister, she's 12 years older than me. I think she was pregnant when she got married. So Susie can't do that. She's just a little girl. We have to protect her. We have to keep her locked up in the house. And, that's the way I felt. I never went to a school dance. I never went to prom. I never went to anybody's house. Um, I did go to slumber parties when we were little, like, oh, 12, 13. The kids wouldn't come to my house because they didn't want to be around my parents. Now, my parents were good people. They were just very old fashioned. Um, so I dated a couple of guys, and my mother would say, "Where you going? What you gonna do? Who you gonna be with?" And my dad would say, "Well, have a good time. Be careful." So I met my first husband on a blind date. Don't do that. Um, we met in February of '73. We married in December of 73, and we divorced in 1990. Now, I married him to get out of the house. I loved him. I did for a long, long time. But um, so we had two little girls, and he drank and he drank and he drank 24/7. Um, he had a really good job, and we had money. We could go buy whatever we wanted to. Um, on the weekends, he would drink his coffee in the mornings. Now, he wasn't a big guy like James. He was about 5'8", had blonde hair, from Ohio. Don't do that either, because you messing up when you. um, yeah, he was he lived in Texas. Their family lived in Texas, but they were originally from Ohio. I went up there a couple of times. I didn't know any better. I was 20, 21, never been on an airplane before. I was all excited. And those men in that house that I went to was his sister's house. And those men made fun of me because the way I talked. Now, they can dish that shit out, but they can't take it. Because finally I said, that's enough. You know, and when I was growing up, y'all not going to believe this, I was very shy because my mother says, you do your schoolwork and you keep your mouth shut. So I did. Didn't know. I didn't know any better. So I did my schoolwork, kept my mouth shut, brought home good grades. And I had another brother. Um, he's 5 years older than me. Um, we grew up together. We played baseball out in the yard. We played marbles. Y'all remember marbles? We played marbles in the flower bed of the house. Uh, Played basketball, all kinds of sports. We did all kinds of stuff in the backyard. There should be a lot more kids in the backyard. Um, so we got married, had those two girls, and like I say, he would get up in the morning, drink his coffee, and pop that beer open. And he would drink all day long, all night long, till he passed out. I left him lots of places passed out. Now, our Alanon book says, I think there's a page in there that says, well, cover him up. Well, I didn't want to cover him up because I didn't like him no more. So that went on for I that went on for a long time. Um, Now I grew up. My parents taught me to take care of other people. Do for others. Don't do for yourself. Don't think about yourself because you're not important. You need to take care of other people and their business. And I was real good at it. And so I was going to tell you, I left him passed out in the backyard, in the kitchen floor, in the garage. He drove an old El Camino and he pulled up one night, um, passed out in his truck with the door open. Here I am looking out the blinds of the windows. That's why I got these creases on my head. That's what people used to tell me. That's why you have those wrinkles on your head, because you're doing this up against those blinds. So we had secrets in our house. Don't tell Susie, just a little girl. So I didn't know. I was so naive. It was unreal. Um, uh, I think when I got out of my shyness is when I was in the drill team in the high school. And then I was drill team 2 year in the drill team 2 years. I was an officer my senior year. Man, I thought I was a big deal. Look at me, I'm a big deal. And I can remember us going to the playoffs or district or whatever it was, and we went to the Cotton Bowl Stadium. Girl, I had it going on. Um, so anyway, we got married and had the girls, and it's a progressive disease. I didn't know that till I got in Alanon. I didn't know that. Well, I came in this room before I went to Alanon, and I noticed he got a lot worse after our second child was born. We had a little girl in 1978, and we had a little girl in 1982. And I thought, well, what the hell? I just drink with him. And I loved it. I loved drinking with him. We'd go dancing and we'd drink and we'd party at houses with our friends we used to run around with. But the people you run around with at that time, and they say, how the hell you live with him? So, we partied for a long time every weekend, and uh, I had a babysitter down the street from us. All this was in Corsicana. And I had a babysitter down the street. She took care of my girls, and she would take them after school. They'd go to her house after school. So we got to just go and partying, and we'd just take them down to her house, spend the night. So one night we were drinking, and we came home, and we got in the house, and the girls were down there. They wasn't home. And he started running that mouth. So I started running my mouth back at him. And we were standing there in the den and by the sofa, and he was yeah, 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 and then I slapped him. And I said, I'm really tired of this shit. I'm going to divorce your effing ass. You watch me. So I hit him, and I hit him, and I hit him, and I hit him. I was kind of proud of myself. And I grabbed his shoulders and threw him down on the couch. Now, the alcohol probably made me do it. The alcohol gave me muscles, and so I could throw him down on the couch. And the next day I went to work. I thought, oh my God, I had bruises on my hands. And I got the most beautiful flowers at work the next day. And he always said, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I'm so sorry. Now, we did not have the physical abuse. I think I can remember one time that he threw me against the wall. The girls can remember times we were fighting, but I don't remember it. But we had that we had the emotional and verbal abuse, and that will kill you. So after we divorced, he didn't even have the guts to come to the courthouse. I was pissed about that. He didn't even come to the courthouse. Okay. And before that, about a couple of weeks before we went to court, he says, let's go to counseling. Let's get back together. I won't do it no more. When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's what I did. I would go through that house trying to clean the house and take care of those girls. And I'm saying, oh God, please give me an answer of what to do. Tell me what to do. So divorcing him was the best thing. That's the only thing I could do. That's the only answer I had. So we did that, and I was at the house, and me and those two little girls doing the best we could. Now, I did go to counseling, probably a year or so. And I walked in that doctor's office, and thank God she was there because I had gone to school with her, but I didn't know her by her married name. Of course, I sat there and cried and cried and cried. And first thing she says is, "Have you heard of Alanon?" I said, "No, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I ain't going." Well, here's a book I want you to read. It's called Codependent No More. I thought, okay, I'll read the book. And so we did the counseling for about a year. And then I got my girls to go to counseling. Oh my God. The oldest one, she was like this in the door. "No, Mama, no, don't make me go in." I had to buy her some ice cream cone before she'd go to the counselor, but I got her in there. Um, and she would see both of them at the same time, and they didn't talk about their daddy. Because we couldn't meet at the same time all together. So I finally asked Deborah, "Well, what do girls talk about?" "Well, it's not their daddy. They talked about their crazy mother." And so we got through that. And I worked at an electric company for 21 years. And some of those men in there, they say, "Oh, don't piss her off. She's friendly and nice, and you do anything in the world for anybody, but don't piss that little girl off." So um, we divorced in 1990. So now, all of you know Big James. Well, one night he calls the house. Now, we hadn't seen him and Rita. They moved from Corsicana to Waco back in the 80s, I think. So we didn't hear from. We used to run around with them. And he called the house one night because I hadn't seen him in years. "Craig there?" I said, "No, son of a bitch moved out and I don't know. Who is this?" "This is James Matthews." We talked for a little bit, and then he'd, "Well, me and Rita divorced too." And so then he started calling me. Okay, he called and we talked for a little bit. Then another week go by, he'd call me and talk to me another time. And then another week go by and he'd call me again. Now, he told me, he had finally asked me to go out. Here's what he'd do. I said, "I will go out with you because I want to see if you've changed." Because we knew him way back when he was drinking. And he had an old van. He drove that old van to Corsicana from Waco to Corsicana. He would leave that van at my house, get in my car, drive back to Waco for a date. He would drive me home and get in that old van and drive back to Waco. And then, you know, I had no clue about Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't think, well, I'll just look them in the phone book and call them and see if I can get some help for my husband. Never had a clue, never heard of it. I never heard of it. And so we started dating, and he gave me a big book. I didn't know he was trying to teach me all this stuff. And um, I said, "No, no, that's all right. I don't need to know none of this stuff." But you know what? I'm grateful that he tried to tell me about it. And I listened to him. He gave me a big book. And I had the flu real bad right after he gave me that book. And I laid on that couch and I read that book. And I still get it out some and read it. So he told me, Bill was his sponsor. Now, Bill said this is before we dated, Bill told me that, yes, he asked Bill, do you think I should date this woman? And Bill said, yeah, I think you should. And James said, if he'd have said no, I'd have never called you back. Um, so we went out on dates and stuff. And one of the funny ones was years ago after we started dating, Irma used to come here at Triangle, and uh, she was dating a guy from here. So they had a little party, Thanksgiving. So he was still here living in Waco. I was in Corsicana, so I drove over here and we went to their little Thanksgiving get together. Irma says, now, Big James, I think Susie's one of us. No, 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 I don't think she is. Yeah, don't you see her sweating? She's sweating. She got sweat all on her upper lip. I think she's one of us. Well, that was the week I had the flu, so I was getting sick. That's what it was. Yeah, I could have very easily been an alcoholic. Now, when I would go out and drink with my ex-husband, I would drink maybe 5, 6 beers. I was out dancing and having a good time, but I knew when to stop because I had to go home the next day, take care of them little girls because he damn sure wasn't going to take care of them. He did watch Kelly when she was a little girl. I mean, little. One day I went down to the grocery store and he watched her for a few minutes. I came back home and he had beer in her baby bottle. I just was livid. I just went nuts. I said, what the hell are you doing? Putting beer, it was probably this much, but it looked like it was this much. Well, she'll sleep better. I thought, well, you don't get up and take care of her. So anyway, um, divorced him and me and James started dating. Um, he brought me to a lot of open AA meetings because I just couldn't understand the slogans and the steps, and I just didn't quite get it. But it did help me to understand about my brother's drinking. I had to realize it's a disease. So when Bill told James, you might need to go to some Alanon meetings. And I said, no, not doing that. Well, one day I went. One night I said, okay. He was in Waco, I was in Corsicana. He calls, did you go to the Alanon meeting? I said, yeah, and I ain't going back. They were some, she said, I didn't like them. I don't need this. I don't want to be around none of these women because I like to be around the men. And so I did. I went back to the meetings and went back and went back. We learned to do service work in here. And the first time I did service work in Corsicana at that little meeting house, we went down there one Saturday and cleaned the house. I said, no, I ain't cleaning the house. I will work in the yard because that's my favorite thing to do is work in the yard. Mow the yard, weed eat and mow and cut stuff and move stuff around. And so that's what I like to do. Um, Now, I have served on the sister to sister board. James come home one night, he said, them girls over there in Waco, they're starting some kind of sister conference, something. They want you to be on the board. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want no part of that. Well, yeah, well, try it. You might like to. And I ended up being on that committee for that conference 20 years. So God was saying, Susie, I think you need to get out there and get on that board and help them people and help them women and show them what you can do. And so I did that. And then James was working out of town. Okay, so when we married, when we divorced, I divorced, the girls were 7 and 11. And we didn't get married till 3 years later. I said, because I'm going to be sure he can get along with my girls. And so when we married, it was 94, July 30th of 1994. And I'm sorry, I can't remember what I was going to say. I knew it was going to happen. Um, so yeah, we married in 94. And, he helped me a lot. We used to have our dates in the garage because I was sitting there crying over my girls. What am I going to do? What are they going to end up being? I can't do this by myself. What am I going to do? And he just kept talking AA stuff. He just kept talking AA stuff and talking AA stuff. It clicked in after a little bit. And I realized, you know, what AA meant. These people in AA, they're the only friends I have. The people in Alanon are the only friends I have. I mean, I got friends I work with, but it's not the same. It's not the same. Um, so we we were married in 94. Okay. So my youngest one, she liked to smoke that marijuana. Now I've tried it a few times, didn't do nothing for me. I drink all day with you, but that does not no. And then so one weekend, the weekend my brother died in 96, she spent the night with a little girl. And my other brother calls and he told me about he passed away. So I had to call the mother to get Jessica to take her to school, pick her up, take her to school. And I called and her mother says, well, I said, I'm going to come get her in a little bit so she can go to school. Uh, well, uh, well, I said, what are you talking? What? They're not here at the house. I said, what do you mean they're not there? She needs to go to school. Well, they're not here. She and this little girl, I think they were about 14, 15. So the little girl talked Jessica into stealing her mother's boyfriend's truck. And it came from Corsicana through Hubbard. They they went all the way to Killeen, picked up some boys. Boy, yeah, you got to pick up them boys. Picked up some boys, had a wreck, and one of the ladies, some lady, stopped on the side of the road and helped them, called the police, and they spent the night in the clean jail. Now, my brother died. So I called James. He was working in Texarkana. He was working in Texarkana. Well, the first thing I did was get out my Al Anon books and read. Second thing I did was call my sponsor and talk to my sponsor, called James, and he said, you go bury your brother and you call her SOB daddy and have him go pick her up and clean at the jail. I called him, told him about it. Well, you're going right down there. You're going to San Antonio right on your way. You go get her. I said, you need to have that child out of jail in your house. I will come pick her up Sunday after I go to that funeral. And went and got her. And I had no idea she felt like she did. No clue. She had written in a notebook all about death and suicide and all this stuff. So we sat at the kitchen table and cried and talked and cried and talked. And, I didn't know she felt like that. Because, when you're teenagers, I don't want to talk to you, Mama. I'm not going to talk to you. You don't know nothing. I'm smarter than you are. And we finally got it talked out. And, that little girl today is 43 years old. She's working at the electric place over there on Franklin. No, no, no. Don't get my age. Um, um, Encore. She's in the office and she's doing really well. She's been there about 6 years. Now she went through a little cancer. She went through a little breast cancer. Um, I went to every chemo treatment with her. I was retired. So she didn't have to do but 6. They caught it early. And I'm so grateful because I'm grateful God took care of her. And she's doing really well. This was about 3 years ago. And she's doing really well. And then my oldest daughter is lives up by Fort Worth. And she's got 4 kids. 3 are out of the house. She's down to that 13-year-old. Um, she's driving me nuts. I said, well, you got 3 done. You can do one more. I don't know how in the world you did this. How'd you do this? I said, well, I did it one day at a time. I didn't know it back then, but that's what I did, one day at a time. So I went to, when we moved over here in 2001. And I went to work for Carpet One retail for a year. Now, we moved over here. This all happened in 2 weeks. My oldest daughter at the same time moved up by Fort Worth. My younger daughter moved east, and we moved over here. And you talk about emotional. I was overwhelmed. I left my church. I left my mother. I left my sister. I left my job of 20 years. Uh, but you know what? I thought, ooh, I'm a country girl going to the big city of Waco, Texas. We looked like the Beverly Hillbillies. James would pack up his truck, bring stuff over, pack up his truck, bring stuff over. Um, so, you know, I it was crazy for a little while. I was scared to get out of the damn house. Now I'm not like that. I'm a going and a doing and getting out there. But I was scared to get out of the house because I didn't know where to go in Waco. All I knew was Richland Mall. I knew how to get there. And finally he said, just get out there and drive. It's Lake Air, Valley Mills, and what's the other one? Waco Drive, Valley Mills, and another one. So finally, I got out there and drove around and did what I was supposed to do and went to work. So, um, I woke up one morning. I went in there and got my coffee, sat down, outside on the porch, drank my coffee. And I looked out that front door and I thought, his car's still out there. Now, this car we got from Virginia. Virginia was the first one that welcomed me into that Alanon program in 1994, 1990. So I got up that morning, drank my coffee, and I didn't think nothing about it. I looked out that front door and I thought, well, his car's, James drove that Avalon and Susie's driving that Avalon still. And I thought, well, his car's still out there. That ain't right. He always left the house at 7 o'clock every morning and come down here to Triangle, drink coffee with his buddies, BS with them, clean up. So I went in there, see about him. I thought, well, he probably got up and he didn't feel good, so he went back and laid down in the bed. Now, we had all our fun, but we slept in separate beds. Because I know you need your sleep and you get up and go to work. I don't want to keep you up. He was up and down during the night and he'd get up with the dogs and all that crap. So I went in there. I thought, well, and I shook him and I shook him. I said, James, wake up, wake up. He didn't wake up. So I thought, oh, dear God, he's gone. I thought, well, hell, I got to put some clothes on, call 911. So I called 911. And, well, they said, pull him up to bed and do CPR on him. I said, no, sir, I can't do that. Well, sure you can. I'll walk you through it on the phone. I'll walk you through it. I'll help you. I said, no, sir, you don't understand. He is 6'6", 240 pounds. I am 5 feet, 100 pounds. So just get your ass over here. I need you right now. And they did, and they were so nice when they came over. Of course, I called my girls, I called Jason, his son, and they came over and I don't know why when somebody passes away, they send 3 cop cars, a fire truck, an ambulance. I don't know why they do that. But so the paramedics were really good. They apologized. Miss Matthews, we're so sorry. I said, go in there and look at him, you see? I couldn't have pulled him out that bed. And so they were very nice. The firemen were really nice. And I made one phone call. One. And that was to Rick. And he came over. And in 30 minutes, I had about 10 people there. And that's how AA works. And I'm so grateful for the people in this program. And then Gordon and Stephanie came over, and Jules came over, and a lot of the women, and it was amazing what they did. And so Rick said, well, what you need? What can we do for you? What do you need? I said, I don't know. Hell, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know. So went to sleep that night, went to sleep the next night, didn't sleep very much. So I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought, I got it. I know what I need. I got it. We need some food because I ain't cooking. So I said, get your people together and whatever you can do is great. That'll be great. We appreciate it. I said, I'm going to have family here. That happened on a Friday. I said, I'm going to have family here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I need breakfast, lunch, and supper. And Jesus, I could not believe all this food. That's enough. It's okay. We got enough. And they kept on bringing. And I'm telling you something. I'm so grateful because you know what? Your friends out there, your real friends, the friends here, they do anything in the world for you. But them people out there, they don't always do that. So I'm very grateful. And I will say, I'm grateful that he died. Oh, it's time to stop. Uh, and I will say, I'm very grateful that he was at home when he passed away. Because if he'd have been out driving, he'd have killed somebody else. Um, I can't believe he's gone. I do the best I can. I I was looking for a job months before all that happened. And they ain't gonna hire nobody my age. She's just a little old lady. Well, I'm not a little old lady. I'm just a little older lady. And so they're gonna have them young girls. They're gonna have their young people. So they can work them a little while and then fire them and let them go. They're not gonna hire somebody that is 50 and over that's gonna be responsible and be there every day and appreciate having a job and do the best they can and not call in sick all the time. And so I was looking online and stuff to find a job, and I went to the library, made out a resume, and went to different places. And so one day I called. I looked on my phone online, and it said Magnolia. Oh, you know who Magnolia is? Magnolia is Chip and Joanna Gaines. And I thought, oh shit, no. Um, I looked online. I applied for a host, retail host, in the big marketplace downtown. I'd only been down there a couple times, and my neighbor across the street, I found out works there. She'd been there about 10 years, and I talked to her for a little bit about it. And people don't call you and say we need to do an interview with you. No, they email everything. So I did get an email. They wanted to interview me. Went down there. They interviewed me and talked to me. And a week later, they said, we want you to come to work for us. Now, I had done retail 1 year because I worked at a credit union about 13 years. I had done retail 1 year. And I said, okay, God, no. I am not doing retail, and I am not driving all the way downtown Waco. And, he has a sense of humor because there I did for over a year, drove down to Magnolia Market. I worked in that store about 13 months, and I met more people from all over the world. It was amazing. And I worked my ass off because we ran. We was going all day long. Um, but I told them when I left, I said, this is the best place I've ever worked. Those people were friendly. That company took care of us. You call in sick, okay. You don't have to take a doctor's note. Um, they were real easy to work for. It was a blessing. Paid pretty good. Helps me save money. Helps me pay my bills. And the main thing is, it gets me out of the house. Keeps me busy. I stay busy. So I'll tell you this real quick, and then I'll quit. There's a guy that works down there. These are all young kids. And there's a guy that works down there. He's probably in his 30s. And he just didn't talk to me for a while. He probably didn't know what to do with the little old lady working in his store. So just kind of stayed away from him, did my thing. At the front door of that building, you go up the steps, you're on the porch. Well, I like being the greeter because I get to meet everybody comes through that door. Good morning. Welcome to Magnolia. We're so glad you're here. Um, so it was really cold. It was really cold that day. And he says, they opened the doors with the heater running. And I said, Corey, what are you doing? It's freezing cold out there. Well, you need to wear a coat, blah, blah, blah. I thought, boy, you done said the wrong thing. And, I thought about it. And at lunchtime, I had to go sit in my car. And at lunchtime, I thought about it and I went back up there to his office upstairs. And my supervisor, I said, Corey, I need to talk to you right now. And the supervisor got up and walked out. I said, I am highly pissed off at you. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're pissed off at me. I said, I am so pissed off at you right now. How dare you talk to me like that? You know, I'm not any better than anybody else. Anybody. I'll bend over backwards to help anybody I can, but don't piss me off. And so I said, you know what? I'm the best greeter you got, and you know it. Yes, ma'am, you are. I said, I blew them people away out of the water working down here because they never seen anybody work. I did customer service for 40 years, and I'd get in there and talk to those people. They loved it. I didn't push them on buying any products. I was not going to ever say, you need to buy this and you need to buy this. No. So I said, you know what? You might not want to talk to them other kids like that either. It's very disrespectful. It's very rude. And then I stopped and think, Susie, you've done that a few times, but I go back and apologize. Go back and apologize. So um, it was very nice to me after that. And he apologized and hugged me. I thought, oh, no, he'll be hugging on me. So, and about a couple of weeks later, uh, I said, Corey, there's no coffee cups upstairs. I like to come up here and make coffee and drink some coffee before I go to work. Oh, it wasn't 5 minutes later. Them coffee cups was right there on that counter. And, he was real nice after that. So, um, I am very grateful for y'all. I've learned to do one day at a time. I drove from Waco to Corsicana to talk to my sponsor many times. I didn't call her. I just got in the car. I was pissed off. I just get in the car and go over there and talk to her. And she saved me a lot of times. She saved me. And I used to say, going to counseling saved me. But this Alanon program saved me. And the AA people in it saved me. And I'm so grateful. Now, I can get pissed off real quick at the people out in the traffic. And I think, well, Susie, they don't have this program. You know, I go in the grocery store, I go to Walmart, all these different stores and stuff, and get out and do my business. And I watch that customer service. But then I think, they don't have this program. They don't know how to shut their mouth and back off and leave people alone and stay out of other people's business. That was kind of hard for me, but I learned to do it. So, okay, I'm going to close with this reading. This is my favorite reading. It's in our Alanon book, Courage to Change. I was convinced that I had to take care of everything and everybody. I had no choice. But with the help of Alanon, I have learned that while I do have responsibilities, there are also many things I do not have to do. I don't have to understand everything. Some things are not my business, and others will simply never make sense to me. I don't have to be reluctant to show my feelings. When I'm happy, I can give in to it. When I'm not, I can turn to my Al Anon friends who help me to grow through the tough times. I don't have to feel threatened by the future. I can take one day at a time. I don't have to feel guilty about the past. With the help of the steps, especially 8 and 9, I can make amends and learn from the mistakes I have made. I don't have to feel alone. I can go to a meeting or pick up the phone. There's always somebody to reach out to in Al Anon. I don't have to take responsibility for other people's choices. They have their own higher power to help them make their own decisions. I don't have to give up on my hopes and dreams. My higher power is not limited to my lack of imagination. And I will close with that. Thank you very much.